Okay guys, here we are, part 3 of nervous system, and I'm going to draw for you, well, I'm not going to draw all the things, but we're going to talk about different classifications of neurons. So you may have heard like astrocytomas or oligodendrocytes or something like that, gee whiz, I'm trying to think of different disease processes, but astrocytoma is a really common one for brain tumors and stuff like that. So there's 5 guys that work in the brain other than just the plain neuron, okay? And we're going to have, I'm going to list them right here, but I'm going to kind of, I'm just going to list them. So we have what are called astro. Can we see that even? No, we can't. I'm going to go down here, A-S-T, astrocytes, okay, which look like stars. And then we have, microglia. So let's talk about astrocytes first. Astrocytes' job, they hang around, they connect a lot of the tissues in the brain. Now remember that neuroscience is really not that old at all. Maybe the 50s and 60s they really got a little more serious about it, and we started to discover what was going on. A lot of times you will even see now these days a thing called phrenology, which is reading the bumps on your head. It's like a mannequin head with a bunch of little squares and stuff, and they say, your emotions come from these parts here. They would read the bumps on your head basically and try to determine your personality. It doesn't work like that. It actually is the brain, but the brain, which we used to think had very specific areas for very specific things, is not as specific as we thought, because there's a lot of interconnections in there, and a lot of things are related back and forth, especially with memory, especially with emotion, especially with other sensory things and motor things. There's all kinds of processes that go along with this whole thing. So, for example, this one, astrocytes, used to be considered like a butler. It was the guy that would hang out near capillaries, receive nutrients from a capillary, and oxygen and glucose and things like that, send that to a neuron, okay, and drop it off and pick up the waste products, the CO2, perhaps some kind of acids or something like a breakdown of this and that, and return it to the capillaries to be sent back through the circulatory system. Now, astrocytes were considered to be just like butlers, but they have more function than that. As we're finding now more modernly, we see that they do have interconnected, they help other neurons communicate as well. So they're kind of like interconnectors, which is a very interesting thing because we didn't think that that's what they did for a long, long time. So that's number 1. Number 2 is called microglia, M-I-C-R-O-G-L-I-A. Whenever you see glia, we're always talking about these glial cells or neuroglia. I always think of neuro means nerve, and glia kind of means glue. It holds it all together. It helps keep things going, basically. So remember the astrocyte, kind of like if you're a star, because astro means star. If you're a star, you'd have a butler, and a butler would come to you and bring you a sandwich and put out a napkin on your lap, and you would eat your sandwich and leave a bunch of mess, and then he would come and pick that up and take it away. And that would be a typical butler. So let's think of it kind of like that, if you can remember it that way. Microglia is like the porter in a casino. So someone who goes around and cleans up debris. Now, they always say in the book that they clean up bacterial debris. And I'm like, well, wow, there should never be bacteria in your brain. If you have bacteria in your brain, you have bacterial meningitis, you're going to die. So what they do, though, is they help to rewire some of the other nerves. They help to take down nerves that are either broken down too far or have become worn out, and they help, make space and move astrocytes and other things out of the way and clean up debris. They're helping to move debris to the astrocytes. The astrocytes can get the information or whatever, the stuff, to the capillaries and out the system. Okay, so they're like a porter at a the guy with the little broom and the handle. He walks around and he cleans up little things here and there. That's what the microglia really does. The third one is called an oligodendrocyte. I put it down here. Oligodendrocyte. Oligo means kind of like everywhere. Dendro means near the dendrites, and cyte means cells. So they're like kind of all over the place. And what these do is these are what gives you the myelin, or the insulation around the nerves, and it's considered white marrow. I mean, white marrow, not white marrow. Knock that out. It's white matter. Okay, you have white matter and gray matter. Gray matter means unmyelinated. White matter means myelinated. In the central nervous system, it's this guy, oligodendrocytes. In the peripheral nervous system, they're called Schwann cells, S-C-H-W-A-N-N. Remember we talked about those in the first part of nerves, because it's usually what the axon is covered in, is like this insulation, which would be like, I can't bring it over here, stupid cable. The insulation on my microphone. Okay, the insulation on the microphone would be like the myelin sheath. Okay, hopefully that's not causing too much feedback or something like that, but I'll put it over here. I'll put it right there. Hopefully not a lot of cracking and stuff. So that's your Schwann cells. Schwann cells are in the peripheral nervous system, oligodendrocytes in this central nervous system. That's their only real difference, okay? They have two different names. They're the same guy. They're just in two different places, okay? It's kind of like you at home are a husband or a wife or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a mom or a dad or whatever the heck you are, a kid, whatever you are. And then when you're at work, you're an employee. You're the same person, you just have a different title kind of thing. Next one is going to be these guys called ependymal, A-P-E-N-D-Y-M-A-L. And ependymal are these little fellas that have cilia. Remember, cilia are on the surface of the cell, and these guys kind of like this, I guess. They have little cilia, little fingers, and they're packed all next to each other. And what they do is they make this stuff called, there's a nucleus, cerebral spinal fluid, CSF. And the cilia do this, and they help pump it around. Now the brain doesn't have a pump, but it has these things called ventricles. There's 4 sets of ventricles, these open spaces inside your brain, and those have a fluid in them called cerebral spinal fluid, because we found it around the cerebrum and the spinal cord, and that's enclosed in a thing called the meninges, which we'll talk about later. So for today, let's stop with those. We're going to do this little tiny section of the classification of nerves, or neurons. Okay, these are neurons mostly in the central nervous system, except for, remember, Schwann cells in the peripheral nervous system. Astrocytes are your butlers. Microglia are your cleanup guys. Oligodendrocytes are central nervous system insulators. Schwann cells are peripheral system insulators, and ependymal cells are inside the brain, and they make and move cerebral spinal fluid, which we'll talk about later. You guys have a good one. Today's question of the day, which I'll put, I guess I gotta put it right there somewhere, right up there. The side quest of the day is going to be look up how many neurons there are. How many neurons in the brain do we think? You know, there's a number. It's kind of general, but leave that comment down in the comment there as your answer, and we'll know that you watched the video. And don't forget to subscribe so you can see the next videos in order. There's a playlist for this. It's called I think Anatomy and Physiology. And you guys have a lovely day, and take care, and do your homework, and be cool and groovy, and we'll understand way more about this in 4 more videos. Trust me, there's still some more basic stuff to get through. Okay, talk to you later. Oh my God.